Episode of Speaking Tongues. I'm here today with Amina. Amina is joining me today from Nigeria, where she is currently an online Hausa teacher. How are you today, Amina?
I am fine. I'm happy to be here too.
I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that we're going to talk about Hausa. And I know I have so much to learn, and you're the perfect person to learn from. So, thank you so much again for being here. And I'm just so grateful that we're going to have this conversation.
You're welcome. I'm glad too.
I like to start each episode with the same question, which is what is your first language and which languages have you learned to speak?
My first language is Yoruba language. That's my mama and papa's language. But then I was born and brought up in Kaduna State, and Kaduna is majorly a Hausa speaking community. So I learned how to speak Hausa there, and even my mom speak Hausa. So it's like we speak Hausa at home. We speak Hausa in the whole of environment. So yes, I am. Let me say by origin a Yoruba language, but then I learned Hausa language from where I was born, from my community, and I also learned English language from school.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we only learned English language from school because we were taught English. We were taught in English when we go to school. Now at home we speak Hausa language majorly, but then sometimes my grandmother speaks Yoruba to us. So yes, I understand a bit of Yoruba too.
Okay. When you were growing up in your home, your mother and your father, both Yoruba, did they want you to learn Yoruba or did they encourage you to try to learn Hausa because you were around Hausa speakers?
I think we learned Hausa as our first language
Okay.
because my mama and papa speaks Hausa language too. My grandmother, my mother and father grew up in Kaduna. They met in Kaduna, got married in Kaduna. So Hausa language is like their first language too. Then we they try to teach us Yoruba language from the little they know too. They try to speak Yoruba language to us, and each time my grandma is with us, my grandma always speaks Yoruba language. So yes, I got to learn Yoruba language from my grandmother and my mother and father, but majorly at home we speak Hausa language.
So when you're out and you're going around town and stuff, you really only hear Hausa
Majorly. But
majorly.
there are other languages too in Kaduna State. Like there are lots of languages. There are Fulani, there are Nupes, there are, in Nigeria we have over 100 languages in Nigeria. And there are lots of these languages in Kaduna State. So when you're passing by, sometimes you could hear people speak language you do not understand, but it's rare. It's rare. The main language you would hear people talk about is usually Hausa language.
Okay. That's really cool. I'm so fascinated by how many languages there are in Nigeria.
It's so diverse. We have lots of languages. Like sometimes you hear people speak language and you don't know where the sound is from. Like what are it? Like differently.
Yeah,
But the three major languages we have in Nigeria recognized is the Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. Those are
amazing.
the three major languages. So depending on the region you come from in Nigeria, those in the northern part of Nigeria are assumed to be Hausas. Of course, there are other languages in the northern part of Nigeria aside from Hausa language. Then those in the west and southwestern parts are majorly Yoruba, and then those at the eastern part of Nigeria are majorly Igbos.
Igbo.
But there
Okay.
are other languages aside from Igbo and Yoruba and Hausa.
Yeah. Oh, man, I gotta come visit Nigeria. I
Yes, yes, yes. Nigeria is a very good place to come.
Let's talk about Hausa first. Let's tell me about
Yes.
the language. How is the language constructed? What are some hallmarks of the Hausa language? Is it tonal? Is it agglutinative? How do we form sentences? Are there particular greetings for certain people in the community? Tell me everything that you find interesting about the Hausa language.
Okay, Hausa language is very, very, very interesting. And greeting aspect, yes, there are greetings like The greetings for people majorly are same, but then the way you greet an elder is different from the way you greet your peer or the way you greet somebody younger than you.
Mm,
There is a height, there's a high form of respect in greeting elders. So it's a very respectable language. The way you speak to an elder, it's totally different. It's going to be different. That the tone, the manners you speak to an elder is different from the manner and tone you would speak to your mate or somebody who is younger than you.
okay.
Then the language construction, yes, it's easy, but then different from English, definitely different from English language. The construction of Hausa sentences are easy if you know the rules of how the grammar, the language, how you should form your sentences. There are certain rules we need to know. And in Hausa language, in trying to learn how to speak Hausa language, the most important thing you need to know are how to use your pronouns in Hausa language. Pronouns.
Okay, tell me about that. Tell me about the pronouns.
We have, just like in English, we have about seven major types of pronouns, like the personal pronouns. I, the first person pronoun, that's I. The second person pronoun, that is you. And then the third person pronoun, he, she, we, and they. Now,
Hmm.
for instance, I in Hausa language is me.
Ni?
We say it as ni, spelled as N-I in English, ni.
Okay. Okay. I'm writing this
But
down while you're
then,
talking.
okay. Now, the second person pronoun you in the English language, there are three ways we say you in Hausa language. Like it depends on the gender of the person you are actually addressing. Now,
Oh,
if you're addressing a male, yes. Hausa language is gender based. Like everything you want to say has to be gender based. The way you address a male is definitely different from the way you address a female.
okay.
When you're trying to say you
Hmm.
in Hausa language to a male, you would say kai,
Kite.
yes, kai.
Okay.
And then for a female, you would say ke,
K.
yes, spelled as ke in English, ke.
Okay.
And then the third one is when you're addressing a plural, more than one person, whether it is a male and female or two male, two female. Once there are two people and above, and you're addressing them as you would say ku,
Cool.
yes, spelled as ku.
Okay.
Then we have the third person pronoun he. He is she.
She?
Yes, spelled as S-H-I, not S-H-E, not the she in English.
Wow. So that might be confusing for English speakers to kind of, if you're saying
Mm,
he and it's she.
yes, that's why I encourage people to learn the Hausa pronouns. Like you learn the pronouns, it's going to be easier for you to speak Hausa language. Now he is she. She in English is ita.
Ita.
Yes, spelled as I-T-A. Ita.
Okay.
Then we is mu.
Mu?
Yes. And then they is su.
Su.
Yes, spelled S-U.
Okay.
Now, knowing this assists you to make your sentences. However, there are different types of sentences in house. I don't know if you have time to go through that.
Yeah. Tell me. Tell me everything.
When we're trying to make sentences in house, there are two major types of sentences. There are sentences that have verbs in them, like active verbs, like the come, go, sit, talk, interview, and whatever. And then there are sentences that majorly describe. They just describe the noun. Now, there are different ways we're going to say those sentences in house. For sentences that have active verb, we say them majorly in three tenses. Now, it's either you're talking about an action that is happening right now, which in English would say a present tense.
Mhm.
Then or we're talking about action that would happen in the future, which we call the future tense in English, or we're talking about the action that has happened in the past, which we call the past tense in English. Now, if you're talking about present tense, like I'm saying, I am in an interview with you right now. I in Hausa would say is me, but when we're saying it in present tense, we don't say it as me, we say it as ina.
Ina. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that ina is what will help us to know that the me you're talking about, which is I, is the action you're about to say is happening in present tense.
Okay. Ina.
So yes, in present tense, when you're talking about an action that somebody, the pronoun I is doing, you'll say it as ina. So we have ina magana da ke. Ina magana da ke, that's I'm talking to you,
Okay.
which is an action in present tense. Ina cin abinci, I am eating food. Ina wasa, I am playing. So any action in present tense will say ina for I. Now, if you're talking about the second person pronoun, which is you, remember we said we have the way you address the male is different from the female and plural.
Right.
So if it's you addressing a male, you would say it as kana.
Kana.
Yes, Kana spells like that in English. Kana. If it's female, would say kina. Kina. Kina.
Kina.
And then if it's plural, addressing more than one person, would say kuna.
If
Kuna. Kuna.
so the na is what's making it the present, is that the present tense marker?
Yes.
So can I guess something? If you're talking about them, is
Yes,
it
please.
is it Suna? If you're talking
Yes, yes,
is
yes, yes. That's correct.
oh my gosh, I love this so much. That's real. So when you say na, that's the present, that puts it in the present tense, like depending on who
Yes,
you're talking to. So
yes.
if you have something that's future tense or past tense, like how does that work?
All right. For past tense, we use the word za. Za determines that whatever you're going to say is in future because za in Hausa actually means will. We can say it is will. And whatever you're willing to do, you're not doing now. So it's going to be in future. So when you're talking about the present tense, like the I, the first person pronoun, you would say zana.
Zana. Okay.
Yes, Zana. That is, I will, or I am going to do something like in future tense. Zana, Zana. Then,
Zana.
yes. If it's okay, for the present tense, if you're talking about the second person pronoun, with the third person rather, which is he, she, we, and they. Now,
Mhm.
for he, you don't say it as Shia. No, he is she is not Shia. It is Yana. We use Y for that, Yana. It's the only one that changes completely.
My gosh. Yana. Okay.
Yes, Yana. So in future tense, we would say Zaya.
Zaya. And that would be
Yes,
the like he will or she will?
yes. He
Okay.
will. That is Zaya. If it's she will, it's going to be Zata.
Zata. Oh,
Yes,
okay. It really helps to write this down because I can see it.
yes, yes. It's a lot. It's a lot. But then, if you understand how these pronouns work, it's going to be easier for you to put your words together in Hausa. All you need to know is keep learning new vocabularies, and then you'll be able to communicate. You'll be able to understand what people are saying.
Mhm. You mentioned that the greetings that you have for elders or for your peers or for younger people are different. Do those pronouns change as well if you're talking to like she, like Ita, but Ita is older than you? Like does that change at all?
No, 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 no. The
Okay.
pronouns do not change in greetings. What
Okay.
changes is the way we address people. Let me give you an instance. For example, if I want to say, how are you in Hausa? How are you? I would say, Yaya ki ki, because you're a female, right? So I would say, Yaya ki ki. And when I say it in full like that, Yaya Kiki, it is how are you? You can tell an elder, Yaya Kiki. Somebody older than you can ask the person, Yaya Kiki. That is in full. Now, instead of saying Yaya Kiki, sometimes to our mates or people younger than us would say Ya. Instead of saying the Yaya in full, would say Ya.
Okay.
Ya Kiki. Now, that sounds disrespectful.
Really?
Yes, really. You don't tell an elder ya kike. It's so disrespectful. You have to say it in full, ya kike. And then oh no, oh you're respectful, you're good. So in greetings, the pronoun doesn't really changes. Only that some of this, instead of using the short form of saying something, you rather use a long form,
Hmm.
so you don't get into trouble of disrespecting somebody.
We don't want that. We don't want to get in
Yes, yes,
trouble.
yes,
This is so cool and so fascinating. So everything in Hausa is gendered, objects
yes.
and everything like that. Okay.
Every noun is gender based.
Okay.
Every noun, everything. Whether you're talking about a bucket, you're talking about a cup, you're talking about anything, it is gender based. So it's
Okay.
either a male or a female. We don't have a neutral gender, just like in English we say it's my cup, it's something. No, it has to be he or she.
Okay. How do you tell the difference between what is masculine and what is feminine?
All right, to determine gender of a noun in Hausa, it's easy. There are certain rules that helps to determine the gender of a noun. Now, for instance, when you're talking about of people, names of people in Hausa, generally all names of people that ends with alphabet A belongs to the female gender.
Okay.
There are exceptions sometimes. We'll talk about the exceptions now. So all names that end with alphabet A are female gender,
Okay.
while all names that end with alphabet I, E, U, or O belongs to the male gender. However, there are names that have been given to female genders from maybe when Hausa language started, which I don't know, when God created Hausa language. Those names have been names we call certain genders, female gender or a male gender. So for that, we don't change that name. Oh, because you don't end with A, you end with E, you would say, okay, this name is a male gender or female gender. Now, let me give you an instance of that name in Hausa. For there's a name we call Kande.
Candy. Okay.
Yes, Kande, Kande. That's how it's spelled. Kande. Now, Kande is a name of a girl who is born after boys. Like, for instance, in a family where we have lots of boys, maybe the first child is a boy, second is a boy, third is a boy, fourth is a boy, and then the fifth is a girl. That girl is automatically named Kande in Hausa.
Oh my gosh, I love
That's
that.
her name, Kande. She will be called Kande because she came after boys, lot of boys. Now, Kande ends with alphabet E in Hausa. And we wouldn't say because it doesn't follow the general rules to change that. So those are some of the exceptions. Also, for gender of a noun, all animals, all names of animals in singular form belong to the female gender.
Okay.
So whether the animal name ends with E or ends with I or ends with O, we don't Okay, so far it is an animal and it's finished and it's in singular. We give that animal the female gender. Now
Okay.
in plural, all animals in plural goes to the male gender. Some of
Okay.
the rules to help us know the genders, genders of things in Hausa. Then all names of places. You're talking about a place, maybe a country or a restaurant, or you're talking about a street or an area. All names of places belongs to the female gender.
All names of places belong to the female gender.
So when you're making your sentences in Hausa and you're trying to pick a gender for the place you're about to talk about, you will give it a female gender,
Wow.
not a male gender. Now, and then all names of things. When we're talking about now, we say now we have names of persons, names of places, names of animals, and names of things. So all names of things in Hausa are male gender,
Oh,
whether in singular or plural form, we give it a male gender. So these are some of the rules that help us to determine whether a noun is masculine or feminine.
hmm, this is an amazing lesson, Amina.
It is. I'm glad you're learning something in Hausa.
I'm loving this. You should see my page is all like I have a full page of notes over here already. I love this. I love this. um
So I'm glad.
I was reading something that many Hausa people practice Islam, and I know that the Quran is written in Arabic, and I'm wondering, is there any influence of the Arabic language in Hausa at all? In the Hausa
Yes,
spoken language? Okay.
yes, there is. I don't know when this started. I can't remember the year, but then um, early people in Hausa when accepted Islam and started practicing Islamic religion. And since Islam is in Arabic, now some of the words, and then Hausa people trade a lot. That is their occupation. The major occupation of Hausa tribe is trade.
Okay.
Now they take things from the land or the Sahara to sell to come back. Now in doing that, there are lots of exchange of words. So some Arabic words were adopted in Hausa language. Let me give you an example. Now in greetings, we're even supposed to talk about how to greet in Hausa properly, how to greet properly in Hausa.
You have to teach
So
us.
after today, yes, after today, you know how to greet in Hausa. Now, there's a form of greeting in Hausa where you greet based on the specific time of the day.
Okay.
There are different types of greetings. Now, this is specifically based on the time of the day. Is like in English, you'll say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think that's the three major greetings we have
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But in Hausa, like if you're greeting somebody early in the morning is called asuba.
Mm-hmm.
Asuba.
Asuba.
We would say barka da asuba.
Barka.
Barka da asuba. Now, you see the word barka is Arabic. It was
Yeah.
adopted from Arabic. You see the word asuba. Asuba is also Arabic, adopted. Now, when do we call Asuba? Asuba is this early morning when majorly Muslim prays. We pray early in the morning, we do Fajr prayer. So that time is what we refer to Asuba. And this time of Asuba usually changes based on the prayer time. So I
Right.
can tell you specifically if it's just between 4 to 6 a.m. No, sometimes we have it earlier, no, around 4:30 to 6:30. Sometimes the time changes based on time of the day. But that time, that period is what we call asuba.
Okay.
And then baraka, the word baraka in Arabic originally means congrats. Like when I say, oh, congrats, it's barka.
Baraka, asuba.
So
Okay.
when we say barka the asuba is like saying congrats on seeing the time of the day, which is called asuba.
Yes. Yes.
This word baraka is from Arabic. That's the example I wanted to give you. And also there's this word marhaba in greetings. All this is greetings. Marhaba. Marhaba is welcome. Of course, we have other ways we say welcome in Hausa. We have about three ways we say welcome. The first is marhaba. Marhaba is purely Arabic. In Arabic, it also means welcome, but it has been adopted in Hausa language that we use it a lot. It is more like Hausa language. People who don't know the history wouldn't know it's even from Arabic, except people who know a little bit of Arabic would know marhaba is actually Arabic, adopted Hausa language. And it was adopted because of the religion, because of the early relationship or early communication between Hausa tribe and Arabs.
Yeah, and that makes sense if you're trading through the Sahara, if you're trading through Northern Africa, then you're
Yes.
likely to encounter a lot of Arabic speaking tribes or Arabic speaking people. Tell me about now, I know that Hausa is spoken in obviously in Nigeria, but also in other places, Niger or Cameroon or Benin and other countries. Have you noticed if you've ever encountered people from these other regions? How have you noticed Hausa changes or differs from the Hausa that you speak in Nigeria where you are?
All right. Even in Nigeria, we have different people speak. Like the dialects are sometimes different. Like when I was born, I grew up in Kaduna State. So in Kaduna, it's I grew up in a metropolis where there are lots of dialects, Hausa dialects. Let me put it that way. Like people from far northeast, northwest, north central all day, and the way the person from the northeast speaks Hausa is different from northwest and north central.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I get to know the differences there, and also I know the way people in maybe Niger, Cameroon, Ghana, the way they speak their Hausa language is totally different from us.
Mm,
But then you would understand once you understand the basic rule of Hausa, how to speak Hausa language, you would understand how what a person from Ghana is saying, and a person from Ghana would also understand you
okay.
following the basic rule. But there are differences. For example, if I say this in Hausa, like this is my house, I would say it as wannan gidana ne. Somebody from Ghana would say wanga gidana ne.
Oh, okay.
So I would say wannan, they would say wanga. If I say if I say lafiya in greetings, I'll say ina kwana, like good morning to you. I would say ina kwana, and the response is lafiya kalau. That is what I would say. But somebody from Niger would say lahia, not lafia. The person would say lahia, lahia low.
Okay. So, do Hausa speakers mix language maybe with other languages that they know? Like, for example, you also know Yoruba and other Hausa speakers know Yoruba. Is there any mixing of the two languages or mixing of maybe Hausa and English or maybe any other languages that are around? Do you notice that happening at all?
Mixing Hausa language and Yoruba language, is it possible? Maybe yes, but no, we don't mix the languages because they're totally different. Like I think the concept. I don't know Yoruba language too much. Yes, I understand little. I understand a little Yoruba language, and there's nothing you would say in Yoruba language that I would not understand. But when I speak Yoruba language, people would say, "This girl is learning. I'm a beginner." I am a beginner, so No, we don't mix Yoruba language and Hausa language, and I don't think people do mix that. But then there's a mix of English. Like these days, you can hear a lot of English in Hausa language, and majorly from people who live in the metropolis, who live in the city. That happens a lot. For example, the word to change, like you hardly hear people say it in another way except changey, and changey is kind of English, Hausanized English. Let me put it that way. Yes, Hausanized English. And even when we were in school, when we were in I think you call it high school there.
Hmm.
High school. We call it secondary school here. Now, when we were in secondary school, we were taught this subject. It's called Ingausa.
Gosa.
Ingausa. Now, Ingausa is a mixture of Hausa language and English language together.
Oh,
So when I want to say I want to drink water in Hausa, I can say zan drink ruwa. Instead of saying it in all Hausa like zan sha ruwa, we can say it as zan drink ruwa. So people in the metropolis nowadays do that a lot. Speak a Hausa language and mix it with English language, and yes, the goal is just for you to understand what I'm saying, to communicate, right? So yes, that happens a lot nowadays.
in Hausa. That's so cool. I love when language can do that, can mix together so you can communicate differently. I guess that's happening a lot more online. Maybe do you see that more on Instagram or Facebook, like people using Enghausa?
Yes, 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 yes. I see it a lot on Instagram, on some blogs. I see it in people's videos. When
Mm,
people are making video online, nowadays it is hard for you to watch a person speak Hausa language from the beginning to the end of a video without putting a little bit of English,
interesting.
except if the person is particular, like I really want to do this house, like house from the beginning to the end. Otherwise you would hear people mix a little bit of English in it, and it happens a lot in among people who are in the who live in the city. But for people who live in the village, some of them don't even understand English language. They don't know anything in English language. So you find that out that they would speak pure, basic Hausa language. Everything would be in Hausa.
Do you notice if in places like Niger or in Benin, where French is spoken as, in the way that English is in Nigeria, do you know,
Yes.
maybe you don't, do they mix the Hausa with French in the way that you would mix English with Hausa?
Yes, 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 yes,
Okay.
yes. They do, they do. Because I stayed. Okay, we lived close to somebody who came from Niger when we were growing up. They relocated. Is that what we call? They came from Niger, settled in Nigeria,
Mhm.
and at that time they they don't understand English. They only understand French and Hausa. We understand Hausa and English. So when they speak and they want to say thank you, they will tell us merci.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we we got to learn mercy from them, mercy. So when we finish speaking out loud, we take this, and he will say mercy. So
Mhm.
I guess it happens there, just like it happens here in Nigeria. It still
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
And
that
this
makes
happened
sense.
a lot with people in Ghana because I get to teach some of these people who are from Ghana, and I think in Ghana it is more, the Hausa language is more bastardized. Let me put it that way. I'm sorry
Tell me what?
because because The mixture of English and Hausa language in Ghana is higher than I think anywhere we can find Hausa language in West Africa, I guess. They have English in almost every sentence they
Oh,
would make in Hausa language.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Where do we hear Hausa in media? Are there movies that are in the Hausa language and television shows or movie songs? Like where can we hear the language spoken, even if it's mixed with English or with French? Like where do we hear that? Because I know that Nigerian movies are huge, even here. Like I've watched so many Nigerian movies and but they don't tell you what the language is. So I usually assume that it's Yoruba, but maybe people are speaking Hausa. Like I'm not sure, but I would love to know.
Yes, there are lots of Hausa movies.
Okay.
Lots of Hausa movies, lots of Hausa content. Now, just like the Nigerian film, the English part where we have Nollywood, we
Hmm.
have Kannywood
Kannywood.
for the Hausa Kannywood, yes. And they've produced, I don't know, I don't have the count of how many new movies they've produced over the years. What I know is they are getting better by the day in the production. I'm serious.
Hmm.
And I would recommend a series for you just to watch after this. You would understand and love the series. It's a mixture of Hausa and English, majorly English, but the second language in that series is Hausa, and the name of the series is War, Route, and Revenge.
Oh, revenge.
And it goes the Sons of Caliphate. Now that movie is really nice, really interesting. We have another one, Beyond the Veil. It's a coming series. The season two is coming out even in June. You
Hmm.
would like it. It's that Beyond the Veil is also English based movie, but the second language in the series is Hausa language. So what I'm trying to say is there are lots of content, like lots of content. I can't count. There are lots on YouTube. You can just search Hausa films, Hausa series. You get lots of them. Some is just Hausa language pure with no subtitles. Some they have subtitle. We have lots of documentaries in Hausa. We have lots of news in Hausa. We have lots of TV shows in Hausa alone. Because in our homes, while I was growing up, we even don't watch any Nigerian movie. We only watch Hausa movies.
Mm, okay. It makes
We only
sense.
watch Hausa movies. We are only exposed to Hausa content because Hausa people are deep in rooted in culture, and then there's representation of Hausa culture in the movies being produced. So that's why, and that's why our parents exposed us majorly to Hausa content on the media in the media. They believe they are decent and children can watch it without seeing anything that is inappropriate.
Okay.
So there are lots.
Yeah.
You can just check YouTube, for now Instagram. Anyway,
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I'm thinking like when I turn on Netflix or mostly Netflix and I see there's a whole category of Nollywood or you know um Nigerian films, whatever the category is, um there's a lot of subject matter in those movies that I don't imagine align with being Muslim or, practicing Islam. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, those probably are not Hausa movies that
yeah.
I'm seeing online. So this is amazing. I'm gonna see if I can find them here in the US because I want to see. I want to
You
see.
you can watch Beyond the Veil, I think, on YouTube.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
it's the season one. I think it has about 7 episodes. You can search that on YouTube and see. Then for the second one, War, Wealth, and Revenge, you can see it on Netflix. Um, it's there on Netflix. So yes, you can watch it and you would enjoy it. I hope you're going to tell me how
Of
what
course.
you learned.
So I want to ask you about the culture and what are some things that are important to understand about Hausa culture and how does it stand out in Nigeria?
Now, Hausa culture, I would say, and Islam religion, there are lots of houses who are not Muslims. There are lots of houses who are Muslims, but the majority of Hausa people are Muslims. So the culture has been interwoven somehow with the way Islam works. So if you want to differentiate in Hausa, first thing is first in the dressing. Yes, in the dressing, it's one of the major ways of differentiating the Hausa person because a Hausa person believes in wearing is we believe in the our attire, like the cultural attire. We wear it to work, we wear it to office, we wear it everywhere. It's not like I think it's not like Yoruba people or English or Igbo, where Igbo will wear the shirts and trousers, all this. No, a Hausa person would still prefer to wear his kaftan and cap to work anywhere, any part of the world. And for the female, would dress something like this nowadays. Nowadays, we have our atamfa. This fabric is called atamfa.
Atamfa?
Yes, atamfa. And then we have our veils mostly. So whether a person is a Muslim or not Muslims, you find us dressing this way.
Mhm.
Yes, there's this sense of decency in the dressing, and then a Hausa person really likes some respect. Like we respect the elders, no matter what who you are. You give respect to the elders, and also the way we speak, like the way we speak, it's totally different. And I think a lot of people, even in Nigeria, like Hausa people because Hausa people are also very friendly, very friendly.
What do we celebrate in the Hausa community? Are there certain things that maybe during certain times of the year, are there festivals? Are there certain, maybe dances or rituals that we partake in the Hausa community throughout the year?
The one I know of is the Eid,
Okay.
the Eid, Salah, the two Eids we have. Because I told you most Hausa people are Muslims, so this is how we celebrate during Eid. Now, Eid in Hausa is called Salah. Now, during Salah, it's when people get together. We go for Yawo. There's this word we use for it, Yawo. Yawo is when you go out. Let me see. When you go out on visitation without necessarily having a destination, sometimes you just want to roam about. Just this, we go to Yawo visitations. We go to places. Some people organize dances and songs and so on. People participate in it. So it's usually during Eid, and then when there are weddings, it happens too during weddings. So after weddings, yes, we get to dance. We get to dance, and there are songs. There are these cultural things done during weddings also.
What does a Hausa bride wear on her wedding day?
Usually, nowadays, okay, is it before or nowadays? Let's talk about nowadays since we're
Okay.
here. All right. Nowadays, we put on a house bride would put on this raining materials in Nigeria now, and there will be a gown sewn, and then she'll have her hair covered, maybe a cap or a scarf, which is going to be tied, and then there's going to be a veil. There would be a veil. Then there's this culture we use lalle. Lalle is called, what's it called? Henna. Yes, henna.
Yeah.
It's more like a must. It's more like a must. A bride would use henna. She would have henna. Her friends would have henna. But of course, the bride's henna will be beautiful and heavier than the friends' hennas and so on.
Okay.
So and then a wedding isn't complete without a bride wearing this type of fabric,
Hmm.
atamfa.
Yeah.
So a tampao will be sewn with a very beautiful style, and then she will have a veil like this. So match the veil usually complements the atamfa, the fabric, the atamfa, and then we have a matching shoe, and that's it.
Does it matter what color she wears?
No, color depends on the personality of the
Oh,
person.
okay.
The person chooses the color.
Okay.
I mean, you like red, you like blue, black, so it depends on the person.
I love that.
But for the male, for the
Mm-hmm.
men usually wear this fabric that has one color. When we wear atamfa can have different colors. Like this one has yellow, it has some black, it has some red. But for the men, it would be one color. So it's usually blue all through, or green all through, or yeah, or white, sometimes gray, any color the groom chooses, or even the men. It's not only the groom. The men, the Hausa men do not wear this fabric. I think Yoruba men wear it, but Hausa men don't wear this fabric. It is regarded as the female fabric. So
Okay.
for the male, they wear this material, one colored material.
Do they match the bride?
Sometimes it does,
Okay.
sometimes it doesn't, depending on the preferences of the bride and the groom.
Okay. How long does a Hausa wedding last? Is it one day? Is it more than one day?
Usually more than one day, because nowadays we're going to talk about things that happen nowadays, right? So nowadays we have something like Mother's Day. The mother organized something for her friends and family come around. We have maybe the kamu. There's this what's, I don't know what it's called. I don't know the exact translation in English, but it's a reception for the bride alone. Like
Okay.
we call it Kamo in Hausa, where the bride will be there. There will be a lot of decorations. Her friends will be there. Our family members will be there, and lots of female. Male, the men usually don't go for Kamo. Sometimes they do attend, but it's majorly the bride's event where we have the sisters, the friends who are female attend the kamu, and then we have the daura aure, which is the wedding itself, like the exchange of the vow. Usually that happens in the mosque. The bride don't need to be there.
Okay.
Only the groom goes there with the family, and then the imam tie the knots there, and that's it. Then there is sometimes walima. There's sometimes what we call yinin biki. Now, yinin biki is like the reception where we have people come along. There will be music playing in the background, and people eat, people dance, and so on.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yes, it is. It is actually. So sometimes it's 3 days, 4 days, depending on the capacity of the family
Right.
who are doing the events.
Okay. Are there any things that you feel that someone who's learning the Hausa language, what do they need to understand about the culture that will allow them to succeed in learning Hausa?
All right, first of all, they would need to know Hausa language is language. Hausa language is gender based. So anything you're trying to say, you should know what gender it belongs. Is it the male or the female gender? I think that would help greatly. That would help greatly. And then, two, we should know that Hausa language likes there's respect for elders. So you don't just talk to your mates the way you talk to your elders. And that is going to help also while learning the language, learning the culture, learning how to interact with people. Then you should know that Hausa people love their language. I mean, If you can speak Hausa language, it's easy for you to interact with anybody and you'll be welcomed. So once a Hausa speaker, a person who is Hausa knows you are from the US and you understand a bit of Hausa language, you would get almost everything for almost free. I wouldn't say for free, but because they love that. We love like, wow, she can speak. She's not from here. She can speak Hausa language. So yes, they would love you and give you things.
I hope that everybody will have a chance to learn Hausa, whether they learn a little bit
Yeah.
or they go and try to learn to be conversational, because everything you've told me today, obviously, Hausa is such a beautiful language and such a beautiful culture and people. And I want to say thank you, Amina, for having this conversation with me. I learned a lot and I still have so much more to learn, but I feel like you've given me and my listeners such a great foundation and inspiration to start learning the Hausa language.
Yes, please. I'm glad I'm here. Seriously, I'm glad I'm talking about Hausa language because after I got married, just before I got married, I stopped living in Kaduna and I moved to Kwara.
Mm,
Kwara is my hometown. That's where my father and mother come from originally.
okay.
So I came here when I was doing my NYC in 2015, and I met my husband there, and I got married, and I stay in Kwara. And then it was how I was speaking, how I was relating to people there that was why I started teaching people Hausa because everybody would be like, "Come and teach me Hausa language. Like, I love the way you speak. Let me learn Hausa language seriously." And that's how I started teaching Hausa language and even went online with it. So yes, if you know a bit about Hausa language, it's very good. It's very good. Seriously.
Yeah. Tell us where we can find you when we want to start learning Hausa from you. How can we get in touch with you? And tell us, your social media, or if there's anything else that you want people to know about your teaching, let us know.
On Instagram, you can find me at Learn Hausa with Mina. Learn Hausa with Mina. On Facebook, it's also Learn Hausa with Amina. And on TikTok, it's Learn Hausa with Amina. So I have my contact, WhatsApp contact there. If you want to learn Hausa, you can just contact me via any of these pages. And I take one-on-one lesson where I teach you Hausa language in 3 months. I've taught somebody Hausa language in 3 months, and yes, till today she can speak Hausa language because she's practicing anyway. She's practicing, and I like that. So yes, I can introduce people. I introduce people to Hausa language. I teach them the basic, like I let them understand the pronouns, how it works, how you put it together. Introduce them to words, vocabularies they need to know for the day to day, and expose them to some of this contents on YouTube, on Instagram, so they start following and knowing how to relate and listen to Hausa language.
I will add links to your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, and everything in the show notes of this episode so that people who are ready
All
to learn
right.
Hausa can contact you and get in touch with you right away.
All right. I'll be glad. Thank you so much.
I like to end each episode with the same question just to have a little bit of fun. Do you have any jokes, popular sayings, tongue twisters, slang words, idioms, proverbs, words of wisdom, or words of advice in Hausa to share and to teach us?
Let me start with Proverbs. A lot of proverbs in Hausa, depending on the situation we find ourselves. But I like this one because they would say, Abokim barawo barawo ne. Can you repeat that?
Ah,
Abokim,
awoke,
yes, barawo.
barao,
It's a twist word. It's not barawo, but ba. It's
pa.
this accent word in Hausa. That's what makes it, yes, ba. So it is barao. This B is spelled with this accent like this, with a cup like this. So it's abokin barao, barao ni.
Aboken barao, barao ni,
Yes, barao ni, not barao
ne,
ni,
barao
barao ni. Yes,
ne, barao ne.
yes, yes. Yes. Abokin ɓarawo ɓarawo ne.
And what does that
Now, what does
mean?
that mean? It means a friend of a thief is a thief. A friend of a thief is a thief. Like when we are growing up, I like that because now I think I can relate with what my mother used to say. She would say sometimes if she doesn't want us to relate with somebody while we were growing up, maybe the person she feels the person is not safe for our upbringing, she would say,
Hmm.
I used to tell you about him barawo barawo ni. A friend of a thief is a thief. Show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. If you're working with somebody who is not good, it means you are not good too.
Mama's right.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is,
She.
actually. But there are proverbs based on every situation you find yourself. So there's a long list of proverbs we can go over right now. I think I like that. Then, twist word. Yes, we have some because there are words in Hausa that let me say only native speakers or only those who learn Hausa language correctly would be able to pronounce the word correct. Just like this barao, we have another word. Let me see if you can try it. How would you say ding? Yes, dinky.
No.
Yes, you can. Because if you're learning Hausa language, you would have to say it. Ding, dinky, dinky.
Nin- Ninky.
Yes, beep, 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 beep.
It's up here, like in
It's
the
not me. No, it's e, e. It's
E.
not from up. It's just like e. The tongue is coming in between your teeth. E, e.
Bing, bing,
Yeah, yes, you try.
bing,
Yes, you're
bing.
getting it.
Okay.
Yes, stinky,
Bing,
stinky.
binky.
Yes, stinky. Now, what's stinky? Stinky is to sew. Like when I want to make new dresses to sew clothes, it's stinky. Now, if you're not learning Hausa language or you're not familiar, you wouldn't read that line. You wouldn't read that word correctly. Not a native speaker. It's one of those things. It's one of those words people would say, "Oh, this person is not a native speaker. This person is just learning," and so on. But yes, it's something you can learn. It's easy.
Yeah.
If you learn the correct pronunciation, then you're good to go.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those, Amina.
You're welcome.
This has been such a lovely conversation. And I want to ask you one more thing before I let you go. In this
All right.
situation, after you've been talking to someone for quite some time, and now it's time for you to go home or go wherever you need to go, what is the best way in Hausa to tell somebody goodbye?
Say Anjuma.
Say Anjuma,
Yes, say Anjuma.
say Anjuma, and
Good. Yes.
Nagode, Amina.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye. New episodes of Speaking Tongues are available every Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like and share episodes with other language lovers like ourselves.